Everybody, it's Carlos from Young Legends Street Hockey. Another first for us here in Young Legends with this whole crazy time. We're doing a virtual video chat with none other than Paul Russo.
Hey guys.
Yeah, we're greatly appreciated that is doing this for us. Paul is an inspiration to me personally, but he can be an inspiration to a lot of different people. And I actually met Paul, which he's not going to remember this, when he worked at Palazzola's.
Wow.
Yeah, Palazzola's, and I would go in and pick up our uniforms for the year, and Paul would say, basically just stand behind the counter and say, "Kyle, that's it. See you later," and that was it. But he always fascinated me because there was a picture. I don't know if you remember this. There was a picture of you with your Bryant University hockey shirt on that Jack had put up on the
Oh yeah.
Jack had that like bulletin board of all the pictures and things, and there was Paul right there. So
Yep.
um,
Wow, good call. Wow.
so that was actually, believe it or not, my first time I ever actually met you, but we didn't have a relationship at that time. Um, but I really got fascinated with you specifically when I read your blog. And Ben Shinkola, who your brother Mike played in Young Legends Street Hockey. He was a damn good player. Actually,
Yep.
there's another fun story. I have a picture of me looking so young with Mike coming up to me next to my old Toyota Corolla, and he's actually just standing there next to me asking me a question, and I'm just sort of like a deer in headlights. I have to find this picture. So
I think that his first year or his last year was your guys' first year
it could have been.
of the league, and he was pissed that he only had 1 year to do it.
Yeah. So Mike, like I said, Mike was a real good player, and you and I got to meet really at the tournament that we had for the adults, which we're still planning on having this year. It just might be pushed around a little bit depending on how long this goes. So
Well, mine and my friends, my team cannot wait to come back and win.
yeah,
They were not happy.
good team too. Wow, really enjoyed that. So today, for everybody, I mean, one of the reasons why I asked Paul to come on and chat with me is because, we're in a situation where, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of fears and a lot of unknowns. And Paul's story is very unique, and I'm going to let him share it. You don't need to hear it from me. But just to give you a little background on Paul, based on some of the things that I know about him, actually went online and did some digging. But Paul is a graduate of Gloucester High School on the 2006. He was part of that championship team that won the division. It was Division II Northeast.
Yep.
He was the captain his senior year of Gloucester High School. Then he went on to Bryant University, which I think is that Rhode? I don't know where Bryant is. So
What?
is it Rhode Island or is it Mass?
Yes.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah. Played 4 years there. He actually became assistant captain as a sophomore. Then he was captain junior, senior year, and they won 2 conference titles. But more impressively, too, is his actual education. Degree in accounting.
Yes. So at Bryant, it was a business administration with a concentration in accounting, with a minor in applied statistics. And then I went to UMass Lowell for my master's in accounting. Yeah.
Awesome. And so probably, one of your greatest strengths that I have found is not only you're a nice guy, but you're very resilient based on Paul being a blogger. Check out his site, the Mindful site, which is what we're really proud of, is that he's a cancer survivor 2 times. So pretty special guy that you are, Paul. And really thank you for doing this. Hopefully we'll have a nice conversation and people can be inspired by you, because like I said, I am. Oh, and of course, how could I forget? I asked Paul just a couple weeks ago to join us on the Legends Street Hockey staff as one of our coaches. So he's ready to go for that, but we'll see when that tournament comes up, because that's been postponed now. So, but like I said, Paul's a great influence. So Paul, tell us a little bit about, the experience of Gloucester High School, being a state champion, and even going back in time. Where did you play growing up, and how'd you get into the game?
Well, I love this so much because I started to play on the street. But so I started playing ice hockey I started like 5 or 6 years old. And I grew up in Gloucester, so I started to play Cape Ann youth hockey, and then I went over at the same time playing select hockey for the North Shore Wings. And while I say this, I'm going to add that Cape Ann youth hockey, I had the coaches of my dad, Paul Russo, um, Dean DeCoste, and Joe Biondo, who were all three great coaches to me. And if I forget anyone, that's my fault. I'm sorry. The North Shore Wings, a select team coached by Joel Rodriguez, great coach too. Then I went up to play at O'Malley, coached by Steve Sasala, great coach. And then was up to Gloucester High School, coached by Donnie Lowe. And then at Bryant University, Coach Mark Luther. And then the men's league tents, Noah McFarland. So I wanted to name all those names. Those guys are so important to me. So to be on that Gloucester High School state championship team, I was only a freshman. I was a child. The most packed games that I had been at before that were Cape Ann, bantam teams. So those games weren't too packed. And then the rink there for those high school games were mind-blowing. Places were packed. The places were half packed before I got there to put on my equipment, so crazy.
What was it like stepping out on the garden ice that day, on that? Do you remember what it was like, the feeling?
It didn't feel real at all. It was the garden was starting to get packed for our game. And just, being out there, it was almost just like, I think I did a good job of, I put on the blinders the whole time. The crowd didn't distract me too much. I just wanted to win that game and then deal with the crowd and everyone afterwards. And I think that was a good thing to learn.
Mm-hmm. So that game, it's on YouTube. The celebration is actually on YouTube. I found it. But did you guys win in overtime, or was that We did. It was in
overtime. Yep. It was a 1-1 game, tied, and then we went to overtime. And Tom Sala, the captain, scored the goal to win the game. And the game before that too, versus St. Mary's, the North Conference Championship, we went into double overtime. So it was, my mom always says that she's mad that it was so much stress. Why couldn't we just win by 10 goals? It was all stress.
That's an amazing time. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but during that time, that team, those kids that you played with were seniors. They're actually my brother's age, and that was a class that my brother would have been a part of if he had stayed in the Gloucester school systems. But it's a great accomplishment for you. I mean, I got a chance. My brother and I played in the Super 8, and we both got to play in the Garden, but it wasn't for a championship. I mean, my team made it as far as I think the semifinals, and playing in the Garden was surreal. I couldn't believe it felt like people were on top of you.
Yes.
So it's just really a cool feeling. But so after that, going to Bryant, was it a big step for you as far as the hockey? Was it like a total major transition, or was it not too bad at all?
So I wanted to start though first with I'm the kind of player that I don't score goals. I play defense, sit back defense. So I just wanted to tell you, so you can be proud of me, that I made 3 goals for Gloucester High School. Who were playoff goals. I got to say that because I just didn't score goals. So
even better.
And I have most games played for Gloucester High School. I have 97 games played. So that's the only, career cool thing that I had. it's the only good stat. I mean,
It's okay, Paul. Really, stable defenseman, right?
yes. So now to go up to Bryant, it was it was it was still a club team, but it was the only hockey team there, which means that there was no varsity team that, whoever got cut played club. It was the only club team there. And actually, my freshman year, the first 3 or 4 games I didn't even play because
Yeah.
I wasn't good enough. So I watched my team play from the stands, and I only got my chance to play is because one of the defensemen got hurt. And so I got to play. I stepped in and I played as hard as I to put me out there, keep me out there, and I did everything I could, which is why he chose for me to be an assistant captain the next year, the sophomore year.
Awesome. That shows a lot about you as a person too. That resiliency that I've read and seen and see in you. Where do you think that comes from?
I think it comes from I've always been the smallest kid, especially in hockey where I didn't hit, I wasn't fast, I didn't score goals. And I would block a shot with my neck if I had to. It was more important for me team as opposed to being on a losing team but scoring 100 points, because I think that the banner that you will see in O'Malley School, that will never leave. You may be on a team that is good, but you don't win, and your name is forgotten years after years, but that banner will stay there forever, and that's what is most important to me.
Yeah, it was. I think for my brother, I think he was, being a part of the growing up playing Cape Ed youth hockey with those guys. I think he really appreciated that win too. Even though he wasn't on the team or anything like that, I think he still felt like, oh, that's pretty cool, and that's something that I think anybody who can win a championship is, to me is there shows a lot of character in that as well. So, I mean, it must have been a change going from, Gloucester to Rhode Island. I'm assuming the crowds, like when I played D3, it was not very popular, but was there a good following for you guys, or how?
Oh, it was.
That's almost for me too. So, but
so Bryant was a small school, 2,000 to 3,000 people. So it was just like our close friends that would come, but it was just great to play for that team because I got to play with I call them like the all-stars of their high school teams, but all come play for Bryant. So I got to play with all great kids from around New England. And we used to play against, we used to play against Boston College,
yep.
Boston University, Vermont, Maine, all of their club teams, which were all kids that got cut from the varsity teams, would head down to club and still play. So we had to play against those kids who were still so good.
Yeah.
And we got to play at BC and BU and UNH. We got to play at those places that are beautiful.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That's really cool. That's really cool. So, and like I said, I remember there's an awesome picture. I don't know if you still have it. Your parents must have it of you with your Bryant shirt on the bench. You got your helmet off. That was the one that Jack posted. It's a cool.
Yeah. I think that was freshman year when they did like the pictures to put on the website. I think it was that.
Yeah, that was really cool. I don't know why that sticks in my head, Paul, but I could still see that clear as day, man, when I would go in there. All right. So you're not playing anymore, but you're still around the game anyway, in a little bit of ways with me anyway. And,
yep.
dropping pucks and.
So I Right. I cannot play anymore. And if you want to start to get into that subject, we can.
Yeah, I think it's I again what I had mentioned earlier is during this time of fear and unknown for a person, there's a lot of fear and anxiety. I'm going to share this with you because I think it's something that I think it's hard for people. But I'll share a quick story and then let you take over.
Sure.
Um, is our own mortality, and I feel like a couple years ago we had hired someone to help us in a situation, and after everything was done, all the paperwork was done, um, he called my wife and said, "Hey, listen, I'm going away for the weekend. I'll call you on Monday just to make sure everything's through," and it was done. And the guy was a little bit older than I was at the time, and sure enough, Aaron did, make the call, and come to find out he had passed away over the weekend. He fell rappelling off a cliff, and it actually hit both of us pretty hard. But what's really hard for me is that I have children now, and I started to realize, I'm like, man, I'm not that far away from this guy that anything could happen, um, in that mortality. So for me, it's during this time, there's so much fear and there's a lot of anxiety for people, that someone like you who's done amazing stuff, with dealing with stuff like this, I truly feel you're an inspiration. So why don't we start? When did the cancer diagnosis come through, and we'll take over from there.
So at the time, I was 23 years old, and I'm 29 now. I had just got done with my master's degree. I just started working at one of the biggest accounting firms in the world. And my plan was to move out to Boston, live the Boston life, work for that firm, and, you know, work from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. And I wouldn't even care because that's what a 23-year-old should do. But um, October 31st, 2014, I had two major seizures, back to back. And I went to the hospital, and the doctors had said that, I was so young, it couldn't be anything bad. It's just stress, which I thought could be true because I was stressed.
Mm-hmm.
But after some more tests, they had found that I have brain cancer. And more specifically, it's a grade 2 astrocytoma glioma, which apparently is the good kind of brain cancer,
Okay.
which I think that just means slow growing. And so my life turned upside down. I took off like 3 months of work. I did 12 months of chemo, and it broke me. It broke me completely. I cried a lot more than any 23-year-old should cry. And I was diagnosed 2 weeks before my 24th birthday, still living at home. It broke me, it broke my parents, and I think that it broke Gloucester a little. But my friends and my family did a fundraiser that happened at the rink, at the O'Malley rink, and they helped to raise me money to pay for all these hospital bills. So many. I mean, prescriptions, surgeries, chemo, just so much. And the fact that they did that, it makes me say to this day that I didn't beat cancer. We beat cancer. I don't fight it. We fight it. Because without my friends and my family and my wife, I truly don't think that I would be here right now.
What what was it like to sort of I when I was talking to you about doing this, the process of this is, how long did it take for you to process that words that you had cancer? What was that like?
Well, my very first thought, I will never forget, my first thought was that I don't know when I'm going to die, but I do know why. And that at 23 years old, that is a horrible thought to have. And the fact that I'm still here, and the way my mind processes now is I kind of go through like an OCD type thing where if I start to get a little sick, I immediately think it's this. And I know everyone says, no, Paul, you're fine, you're fine. It's very hard to convince myself that I'm just fine. But, I have fought so hard, and my wife and my parents have fought so hard with me that, the fact that I'm still here today means that this cancer is doing an awful job of going up against me.
Yeah. And that's a good thing. I mean, I can't stress this enough while talking to you and people watching this. Most importantly is that you are, I can't stress how resilient someone has to be to face something of that magnitude, to go at it. And if you don't mind me adding this thought in times like today where we're learning a lot about this virus that's going on, and people are losing their lives to it. At what point do you say, I'm going to stop being afraid of this, I'm going to start to get myself in better shape, and I'm going to start fighting back? Was there a part where, you kind of came to that where, almost like when you're playing hockey and you're down by 2 goals and did that click in at some point? For lack of a better question.
Yeah. So I would say that when I was first diagnosed, I didn't really know what to do. All I could do was just do what the doctors say. But when I was home, I tried my best to. This is when I started to meditate, and do yoga, walk a little. My girlfriend at the time, now my wife, we would still go on dates, even if that meant to stay home and watch a movie. And that was the best that I could do to fight my cancer. The doctors would do what they can. I would do what I can. And I would just go from there. And the fact that I could go back to work full time, that was a great thing that I could do. So, me and my family, we fought as hard as we could. And then, however, it came back in 2017, where I had the tumor the whole time. They just thought it would stop growing because of the 12 months of chemo. So they just said, we'll scan you every 2 to 3 months. We'll see how it is.
Yeah.
It was growing so slightly that they couldn't tell from the scans. But the fact that I was starting to have seizures again, I would get a second opinion at Dana-Farber, and they did see, their scans were so close and so high tech that they did see some growth.
Yeah.
And they had thought that the best plan for me to do, and this happened in April 2018, was to do brain surgery, major brain surgery, to take out as much as they could. They didn't know how much, because they still wanted me to speak and, walk and, see and hear. So they took out as much as they could. And they actually took a great, amount of it out. I don't know if I've ever shown you the picture of it. And if I haven't, I'll send it to you. They took out maybe 20% of my brain, which is amazing that you can get that much out and still be fine. But from then until now, the scans they show now are just a black hole where the tumor used to be. And they say from the scans, right now from the scans, I cannot see cancer at all. And that is like, that's what will bring tears to my eyes, is that I no longer am afraid of death today. I have my wife and my parents and my friends and my wife. They, I didn't beat cancer, we did. They saved my life. So the fact that I'm still here, and the fact that you have gotten into my life more, I don't know if I would have met you as much if I didn't have this, you know. And
Sure.
um, sometimes, 99% of the time I hate my cancer, but there is a 1% of the time like this that I thank my cancer. I'm happy that it hit my life because I wouldn't be here, you know?
Yeah, well, I think it says a lot too about what you just said too, because I've had a chance to meet your wife at the block party. Seems like a wonderful person. I also,
Way out of my league. Way out of my league.
you guys are pretty good for each other. There, one of the stories that I was told by Ben, he said, "Yeah, Paul's team will not be able to play in our tournament this year because it's too close to the wedding, and Leah will not allow any of the groomsmen." So, which
That's not a lie.
so that's one of my favorite stories. And like I said, I've only met her once, but it seems like a wonderful person. And that's what we need in this world is we need more support. In incredible times like this where we do need everybody, we need each other to rally around one another as opposed to the fear mongers that are out there. So this is a good chance for me to ask you this.
Yeah.
With this virus going around, and let's face it, you faced a huge demon of cancer. Something that is, I mean, in a lot of ways, I can't stress how much I admire you for that, the strength and the support system that you've had. But during this time, what's sort of your mindset about something like this?
What is my mindset?
Yeah.
So, half of me thinks that I'm not afraid of this new virus because I've gone through worse, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I try to stay home as much as I can. I actually got my scan, my bi-monthly scan yesterday, came back with good results. So much so that they will allow me to do scans every 3 months, not every 2 months. But I still had to go to the hospital with my gloves on, a face mask on. The hospital was strangely deserted because you could only go as a patient. You can't go with your wife or your parents. So
Yeah.
it was just the whole vibe of it was so weird. Boston downtown was empty. It was strange.
Yeah, it's kind of kind of in a way, I hate to use this word, but like just a apocalyptic. I
Yes.
haven't even been to Boston, being where I live and work. I don't need to go there, but
There
uh,
was no traffic to and from Boston. It was just
yeah,
no cars out there.
yeah,
Well,
crazy. It just, I mean, there's just again along that mindset because you've kind of hinted on it a lot is that you need a very good support system to overcome major obstacles in your life, and the mindset. I feel like when I look at someone like you and I talk to you, to go from a Cape Ann youth hockey, Gloucester High School, Bryant University, get a master's degree, overcome cancer, write a blog, that takes, you know what I mean? That takes a lot of a resilience of a person to get through those barriers. And like you just said, I faced worse. So, and with that mindset, how do we get that vibe out there in the world, to let people know that we can overcome this? I don't even know if that's a good question.
right. No, it is. That's why I wrote the blog, is because I don't want someone else to have cancer to learn what I've learned. And that's why I write to whoever I can write, speak to whoever I can speak. I want them to be so happy with what they have right now. And if they're stressed at work, or their scale says a few more pounds than they wanted to, that's good stress. It's still stress. It's still stress, but it's good stress compared to things that I've gone through. As far as I've been on my deathbed a few times in my 20s. But I still stress about work and the pounds on my scale, and that it's just, I'm so happy that I go to the doctor and he's like, "You're fine, go home." um, So of this scary time, be happy with your significant other or your family or your friends or your cat, whatever you have. Be happy that you're here now with love.
That's it. That's a great statement because during this time, my Kevin, my girls around a little bit more, even though it's a little bit challenging. They come in the office. You probably see the door open a few times. They come in the office trying to figure out what I'm doing. But at the same time, I know that they enjoy me being here. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to work from home too, have a job, and I'm still trying to help as many people, advising people through the market crashes and
Yeah.
get them to where they need to be and get through this and again
Can I just say one more thing too about all this? I know that I've thanked my wife and my family and my friends, but when you talk about your job, I think about, I work for the city of Gloucester now, and I think even the whole city, the community has helped me, even if I don't know them. And that's why I want to write the blog, to reach out to my whole town that, they all have saved my life. So me being able to work back to Gloucester, I feel like that only begins to repay the debt that I think I will never repay.
One of the things that I'm paraphrasing an old story now that I read on Facebook that I believe you were tagged in, that was about your mom. And I'm going to butcher this story because I'm reading it from the memory. There was a day that you were at one of the hospitals in Boston, and there was a young kid that was, I think he was either recently diagnosed or he was going through chemo. And your mom wrote how, and I've never met your mom. I know what your dad looks like. My dad knows your dad, type of thing. So I know who he is.
Yeah.
But the story is that you went up to the kid and gave him something of encouragement. Do you remember that? Because I cannot remember what you said to
him. So it was after a good scan that I had, and my wife and my parents were with me, and we were about to leave. We were in the elevator going down to our car, and the kid in there with me with his mom, he must have been like 3 or maybe 4. You could tell that he was the patient, not the mom. You could tell because his head was completely bald. He had the thing on his wrist that, said that he was a patient, and I forget what he was playing with, but it was just a little toy, and he was so quiet and just so scared. He didn't know what was going on. So I looked down at him and I gave him my bracelet. I actually have a backup one here.
Cool.
Bracelet like this. And it was something that my mom gave to me when I first got sick when I was 23. Because my mom was broken too. She didn't know what to do. Her firstborn son was just diagnosed with a malignant cancer. And she gave it to me saying, she read about how these things can heal. And, she just tried to do whatever she could. So when I saw that kid, I kneeled down to him and said, "Hey man, I just wanted to let you know, I want you to have this bracelet. It helped me so much. My mom gave this to me. I can tell how much your mom loves you. I think you should take this and just trust me, it will help." And the kid, he seemed so nervous the whole time, but he took the bracelet and he smiled. And right then and there, I went to tears. My mom went to tears. And just, I hope that kid is still here with us. I hope he still has that bracelet. And I know I never got his name. I didn't need his name. I just know that day I helped him. And
those are the powerful stories that I think is inspiring about you. Because when I read stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, that's the type of guy that I enjoy. I love learning about people. I love learning how you think, because it's such a wonderful thing that we can pass on. And I think I've never shared this with you. So my firstborn Isabella is going to be, she turned 4 in January, but when she was 3 weeks old to about 6 months old, she experienced a couple seizures. And you know, my first reaction is that you probably don't even know this, is that I actually have a degree in biology, and almost went to medical school and decided against it for my own reasons. And although I think my mother's grateful at this time that I'm not in the medical field and I do financial advising, but having a little bit of understanding of on how the biology of our bodies work, you know, I became totally irrational. I'm like, this is my daughter. What's going on? And they brought her to Chad, which is up in Dartmouth, up in Lebanon, New Hampshire, because we currently live in New Hampshire. We spent 2 nights there. She had an EEG, you know, the 6-month-old with this, you know, or I'm assuming you've had an EEG.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, holding her down while they put the electrodes on, and then come to find out, my positive feeling was she'll be fine. They're not going to find anything. And they did. So I laugh about it now, but she had MRIs. At first I thought it was a tumor. So they put her on a what they call, you probably know this one, Keppra, or levovetrium. I can't even say the name.
I take that now. Yep.
Take it now. Put her on Keppra and making sure that she didn't have seizures. But during that time, when we went back in August, come to find out that the spot that they thought might have been a tumor was actually, they didn't know what it was. So they officially diagnosed her with something called cortical dysplasia, in which the cells of the brain, the neurons, they don't actually communicate very well. And so they rapidly fire in that part of her brain, causing the seizure. And now she's at a point in her life where she doesn't have any seizures, and knock on wood, you know, knock on wood. But during that time period, I was like, you know, you have a child, you don't expect anything bad to happen. You're like totally blindsided. But again, to your point, my parents were there, my brother was there, my sister was there. They all rallied around Aaron and I just so that we could go through this. And I just, sometimes it's, I don't know if you would even agree with this, the strength it takes to be supportive, sometimes I feel like is even harder, because, you know, my poor daughter's been in the hospital with, you know, being stuck with needles, you know, because she's had infections. And sometimes I'm like, how can I take your pain and put it into mine?
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
that's exactly what my parents, you know, it hurt because it was my fault that they were so hurt. And I know what you mean, and that's kind of why I try and tell myself that my team, you know, my wife, my family, my team didn't have my back and watch me do it. They had my side. You know, they were next to me. They were going through,
And that's,
you know, and it was, I wasn't the only one that was broken. Nope.
that's such a, and that's such a powerful thing, because what you mentioned, your mom and your dad, I can't imagine going through a situation like that. And don't get me wrong, Paul, my situation is not near, it could have been if she had a tumor. It's not nearly as close to what your parents went through. I mean, I truly feel I'm blessed anyway, regardless of, you know, what happened. You know, you know, your parents must have had some sort of support system as well, because I give them so much credit. The strength that it takes to handle something like that is,
right. Yeah.
I can't even, you know, even Leah, I mean, it's
Oh, I know. We were only dating when I was first diagnosed. I don't know how she stuck with me. It's such a blessing that she stuck with me. She is the strongest person that I know. You know, she would drive me to these scans, and just she married me, and
right.
she has saved my life multiple times.
You had mentioned something earlier that I wanted to sort of touch upon, because I think it's a powerful message in there. Is you said that you were on your deathbed, and in those moments, was there any way for you to, how did you get out of those moments, or did you accept things as they were?
So I think that a couple things that held me to stay alive were some thoughts like, which this one sounds strange, but it, you know, when you think about it, it's true. I do not want to outlive my parents. I don't want them to bury me,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't want to not have a wife. I don't not want to have a family. And that deathbed, those were the thoughts that came to mind, and that's what kept me alive. Is I'm not done with my life. I'm not. And since even back to hockey too, the fact that I had to hang up my skates and never play again, um, that just means that my next point is I'm going to coach. I'm going to help you guys out at Young Legends. That's I just because I'm done with playing doesn't mean that I'm done with the sport. That's what kept me alive, all those things.
Right. And to sort of add on to that, I that's where it's so fascinating to me is you that fight to keep going and what drives you. And that, Paul, is the biggest. I feel I can't stress this enough. That's the inspiration that I hope that people get from this video, is that ability to get back up and say, hey, I'm not done with this yet, and sort of to take the pressure off you right now is the fact that when I look at the world that we live in right now, I try to find the positives of. I think about. I remember this picture I saw the other day of wonderful ambulances driving into New York City. You know what I mean? People going in to help, risking their lives, or even like today, what we saw with the Patriots using their plane to go get masks,
Yeah.
bringing it back.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I wish that we focused on. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We've all got battles we're going to have to go through in life.
Yep.
Nobody is spared from that. And what always has fascinated me about someone like yourself, and sorry if you can hear the kids now.
That helps me. That helps.
we all, like I said, when Isabella was potentially being diagnosed with a brain tumor, my first thought was, hey, this isn't supposed to happen. This isn't supposed to be happening. But I made a choice that day that no matter what happened, I was going to stand by her side, being there wherever I could. And that's something that I don't know if you can hear that, but sorry, people. That's Aubrey. That's the thing that I admire most about people is in people like yourself, people that are willing to go the distance and battle it out. And how do we inspire more people to do that? Because
well, that's why I think what you're doing with Young Legends is I love it, and I want to be a part of it because it will help kids get that, like myself, I'm not a goal scorer. I'm not fast. I don't hit hard, but I help my team by playing defense and blocking shots. And there's going to be kids on that team that will score the goals, but can't play defense. And there's going to be kids that can play goalie, but they can't score goals. And there's going to be, the coaches there that can't skate, but they can coach.
Yeah.
That's why I love what you're doing here is you're helping these kids realize both on the ice, on the street, and in real life that you're not just you're not an individual, you are part of a team that can win championships, that can win life.
Absolutely. And thank you for saying that, because the one thing that I really our board, and all the guys on the board anyway, from Kyle to Ben,
Yeah.
Brett Souza, a lot of these guys, is the one thing that our message has been is that we want to be a light during this time of confusion and
Yes.
chaos. Come do a strength workout with one of us, or watch. Danny sent that video out of the rink. You know what I mean? And
I love that.
that we're trying to give people more hope as opposed to just adding to the negativity. And my message for years through Young Legends is a nice platform for me to get my thoughts out too. Like with the mindful site, with your blog, it allows you to sort of share some of the philosophy that you have in life. And life's going to hit us in ways we never thought we'd be expecting. And for you, like I said, I don't I admire what you've been through because of that. So want to hit one more thing on the cancer.
Sure.
What was it like when the doctor came in the room and said, Paul, I got great news, or however it was, we're good for right now? What was that like?
Well, it's extremely important for me to hear that stuff from my doctor. I know some people only they listen to themselves, or they don't trust the doctors. There's people who are both ways, and that's fine. But my mathematical scientific brain still depends on what the doctors say. And the fact that he said that, it was, how am I supposed to put that in words? Come on.
It's hard. It's hard. Yeah.
No, it was just, what thought that comes to mind is my number one goal in life right now is to sit on that porch with my wife when we're old and hold our hands and say, we did it. And that doesn't mean I want to fast forward to it, because I want to go through the kids and the grandkids and the hockey. It's that if I get on that porch and hold her hand, that proves that all the other things came true. Once that doctor said that to me, I thought that goal in life can be achieved.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that, I did give you this question beforehand. What is the Paul Russo future goals?
The future goals?
Future goals for you personally, maybe family-wise. I mean, well, you kind of hit on family now, but
I guess the goals are to become a dad, to give back to the city of Gloucester as much as I can, and to coach one day, because I can't play, so I would like to coach, and I would like to help put a banner at O'Malley Rink right next to mine.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I know they're tough year for them this year.
I know.
What was that game? Who did they play against? Was it?
I forget the team, but they lost in overtime.
Yeah, it's one of those games where I think unfortunately they were the underdog, but they got a good lead, and
Right.
then the team came back into it. I think they took them a little lightly, but I'm so proud of that team, because I mean, I'm at the point now where a lot of these guys have come through Young Legends, and I've got a chance to watch them play and grow up, and I'm really proud of a lot of their accomplishments, even though I'm not the one, like, I'm not Derek Geary, who's really a wonderful coach, in a great guy. I can't say enough about Derek. I've had the opportunity to talk to him, and I love his mindset about, making sure the players are taken care of psychologically too. I think that's a huge piece to this game that is neglected. But
and I hope the kids that are playing now in the Young Legends, they watch this and they, say, I should focus. I should try all, skills that I have, but I should focus at one point on what I'm great at and get to be the best at that, and hope that my friends get to be the best at this. And I hope, because like I said, we need a banner next to that 2006 one.
It's been a while, right?
Yes, it's
14
too
years.
long.
Yeah, 14 years. And one thing that you had mentioned that I think a lot of people, excuse me, guys, I'm just going to give them a little, if you've seen this from Friends, they're kids. What can I do, right? We're all learning. But anyway, you had mentioned that, basically you were stay-at-home defenseman. And I think from my own perspective of my own career, one of the things that I wish a coach had pulled me aside is they said, Kyle, you're trying to do way too much out there. Be the player that you are supposed to be. And my expectations, Paul, were so over the top, crazy. I wanted to be Bobby Orr. I wanted to be Cam Neely. I wanted to be Gretzky. I wanted to be the magician on the ice. But in reality, I wasn't that player. I was a very intellectual player. You know what I mean? And if I had a coach that say, hey, listen, this is where you can be. I was so arrogant as a teenage hockey player. I was probably like, yeah, I'm the greatest you ever see, right? Just kidding. I'm actually a very humble person, but
everyone was, though. It's not just you.
Yeah. But the whole idea is that it's okay to be a certain style of player, because in the big
Yes.
scheme of the game, you're fitting a part of the team you're fitting a need of the team. And I think what the way you said it was well said. So, um,
The that Sandlot quote is what heroes get remembered, but legends never die.
yeah,
Right there.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And um, if I remember correctly, you won an award in your high school career too, though, right? You won.
I was MVP and co-MVP junior and senior year. I won.
That's pretty good.
I won a few stuff. I won 3 back-to-back-to-back best defenseman, 3 All-Star games. I don't like to talk about all this.
Oh, that's okay. That's what.
But yeah, I got awards that my dad still has hung up in his house, and I was blessed to play with the kids I played with, the coaches. So I don't it wasn't just me.
Yeah.
Chance.
I mean, and that's the thing, is that that's what I love about you the most. Your humility, and the one thing is that, like, I've done some research on you just in preparation for this talk. But when I was up at O'Malley, I saw your name on one of the trophies in there. That's why I knew. So, but like I said, when we look at the career, Cape Ann, Gloucester High School championship, Bryant, master's degree, cancer survivor, blogger. I mean, it's a lot to be proud of, Paul, and it's
Thank
something,
you.
like I said, um, there are heroes all around us that we look and we idolize our Bruins players and all that stuff. But sometimes you just got to look down the street and there's Paul Russo walking down. You know what I mean? And
Thank you so much.
important.
That's why, well, get used to me because I'm not going anywhere.
That's right. See, that's the mindset that we need. So anyway, to lighten up our pretty in-depth conversation, we've kind of been sidelined a little bit, but how do you feel about joining the Adult Legends Street Hockey Club, and how do you feel about it? I know you and I haven't got a good chance to talk about our expectations, but what do you think?
You already know the answer. I cannot wait. It's a great, just the fact I grew up playing street hockey, and I make the joke that I didn't play street hockey to train for ice hockey. I played ice hockey to train for my street hockey. And I want to be more of a part of this, what you guys are doing, and asking me to coach with you guys. That's a great start to how I can commit to you guys, how I can start my own coaching career. You are a blessing to me. So thank you guys so much.
I know we had sent some messages out today because the Kyle Edmonds had created the shirts. I don't know if you had a chance to look on the text. I don't even know what they voted for as far as the shirts, but that's okay, because I want them. I feel like it's our job to make sure that they have the strategies in place, game time preparations, what they should expect. Yeah. All they need to worry about is playing. And it's our job to get them ready more than anything. But what's really, really what I love about this project and this team is that there's rivalries from years ago. The Joey Oganowski, who I don't know if you know, Joey, plays on our team in our tournament. Joey grew up in Winchester. Winchester grad, would come to Gloucester in the summer. And then you've got Terrence Lane, who
I trained him, by the way. I hope he knows that.
You are.
Terrence Lane, I trained you.
That's it. Well, he better watch this too, by the way, because Terrence, I give Terrence so much credit, because Terrence we've always talked about him as being one of the top players in Young Legends who never laced skates up. And he was a phenomenal player, really. And even that, he's also a great kid, in my opinion. I mean, growing up, he just played the game. He never gave you a hard time. He just played. And I think Mike played with Terrence, maybe. I mean, you guys all grew up on the same block.
On the same street. He played street hockey with us every day, and he was the smallest kid and would still play with us. And like I said, my brother and I trained him, so you're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's right, Terrence. And the thing is, with Terrence and Joey, they are the same. They are close to the same age, and they would have major battles in Young Legends. And it's going to be
Yeah.
so great to bring these two phenoms together.
Yeah.
And then you've got the leadership of Brett Souza, Kyle Edmonds, Ben Shinkola, who's been around the game. I don't even think people realize, he played at Northeastern as a roller hockey player.
Yep.
And then, so we've got a really solid group of guys. And like I said, it's our job to sort of merge them and make them a unit. And we've got some really good athletes. I don't know. Connor Powers was always very good in the program. Connor
Yep.
Cranston, I don't know much about Connor, although I think I don't know if you know him that at all.
Yep, I played with him. He was a freshman when I was a senior.
Okay.
I hope that he thanks me too for all the training I gave him, right, Connor?
So
no, he is unbelievable. So he's a great ad.
Yeah, so we should have some fun with this team. And my brother Danny, I think he was not going to play because he was traveling, but now with everything that's happened, so hopefully we get him, and he just adds another dimension of. He was actually more like you, Paul, that stay-at-home defenseman, rugged kid, and he should be a good fit. And then we got my dad, Kyle, who's going to be our GM, who, I'm going to need him for all the other, like the scheduling and things like that. It would be great for him to have. But
well, we have a good coaching staff then, huh?
Yeah, it will be a good group of people. And then, our board, we're already planning the 2020 season. I mean, we may have to make some adjustments
Right.
based on this virus. But, our goal is to get kids playing again this year. And that's the thing. The main focus is really making sure that we're building up the youth program and giving kids something to do. I really do believe that when we get this rink going, when it's built, it will allow a community of hockey to be played in a different form.
I love that.
But but it's an exciting time. It's just what's unfortunate is that we're battling with a world crisis at the end of the day. So I'll let you know when that tournament is.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I did talk to the director of the tournament today, and he's looking at either May or June. So they're ready to go as we are. But we'll have a practice, and that should be fun. But to finish up, anything else you wanted to sort of talk about? I mean, I could talk to you all day and night, really, Paul.
Same.
But is there any words of wisdom that you have for us right now, and kind of putting you on the spot again?
Was that not enough? Jeez. Just, everyone should just, I hope when they watch this, they know to just breathe and slow down. Take a breath and slow down, please. And one more thing too, I'm sure that my wife will watch this. I love you, Leah.
Leah, good job with this guy. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your story. I know I like you know that I'm one that I love learning about people. I love learning about how people think.
Same.
How they overcome. And I know that this probably wasn't easy for you. And
I wear it all on my sleeve. I will share my story to anyone that will listen. So thank you.
And for the Young Legends players that are watching this, I want to say this directly to you guys, is that, Paul Russo is such a nice guy that he would take the time to talk to you about anything, just like I would.
Yes, please. Yep.
But this is people should strive to be like you. And in your career, I've always tried to drill this into our coaching staff, that it's not always about points. It's not always about assists. It's about, are you willing to come every day, come up to the court, block a shot, play your hardest, give effort, and be willing to get better. That to me is far more important than the stats on the screen. that's far more important. So
The wins are more important than the goals and stats, and score sheets do not show how you scored. It shows that you scored.
Exactly. And I think we need more of that team in the world today. So thank you, Paul. You're the man.
Thank you, Coach. I cannot wait.
I know we're hopefully Noah's brother will maybe take some video of this team. So and hopefully you and I will get together anyway before, and then hopefully we'll have our tournament for the adults, and you'll be coaching that team.
Yes, I will. We're not going to lose again. No way. Nope.
So that's a shout across the bow to all the RHC players out there too that have won it the past 2 years.
We'll be there.
Well, you'll be. That's right.
Coming for you guys.
That's right. So thanks again, Paul, and we'll talk soon, buddy.
Yeah. Yes, sir, Coach. See ya.